And welcome back to episode 164 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
See, Carl, if I'd been a little bit smarter about this, I'd have had one like a clip of Arnie going, "I'm back."
It has been a little while.
It has. Welcome back to the Weekly Tech Rant after our slightly longer than, I guess, anticipated break for the spring piece. If you're in the US, I guess spring break. But over here we had the Easter holidays as such. And I have returned refreshed, slightly less in the pocket than I went out with after a couple of weeks in the US. But yeah, it's great to be back, and it's great to be back talking about tech news stories and on all the latest stuff. So how you been?
Yeah, not bad. I wish we had a bit more US style weather because it's miserable here. Come back to grey.
Well, you say that as we record at this moment. I look out the sky, I can see blue skies and some kind of fluffy
grey
clouds.
And raining. Grey and raining.
Well, welcome to the UK, as they say, isn't it?
We had our spring. That was a couple of days of 20 degrees, and that's it. We're back to winter again.
Yeah, what more do you want? I mean, I don't believe there is any other kind of weather for the UK.
No, we've skipped summer, gone straight to winter.
We have indeed. So we've got pretty much a good lineup this week. We got a few stories kind of a little bit in the news over the last couple of weeks. We're going to talk SBF, FTX. We'll talk Microsoft, another AI acquisition. I don't know if it's an acquisition. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a... We're going to talk D-Link. I forgot they were still existing as well. Elon Musk and his complete and utter brain fart of charging for Twitter/X. And Google have made a bit of an interesting move across their Android, Chrome, and hardware divisions. And the Tech Rant Rumour Mill makes its value return to talk about the latest Apple project that we have heard rumours on. And a little bit of kind of an update. So you might recall back in March, I mentioned that I'd purchased the Bamboo Lab Mini A1 printer.
You did?
I have to say, is a phenomenal piece of kit. I mean, coming from that Ender Pro, this is just money well spent. Amazing printer. But I had a couple of problems, didn't I?
You had a wobble. It was all going so well, and then it went disaster.
I had a wobble 2 weeks ago where it just every print seemed to go completely and utterly wrong, didn't it? It was like the pictures I sent you were just crazy stuff. A filament everywhere. It looked like spaghetti. It looked like somebody had dumped loads of cotton on prints. There was no adhesion. I couldn't work it out. And anyway, long story short, I've replaced the hot end. So they're like the nozzle end. If you're not familiar with 3D printers, the hot end or the nozzle bit is basically the bit where the hot melted plastic or filament comes out to build the model. And Bamboo actually clearly have thought about this, and they are easily replaceable. They cost about just under 10 quid, roughly speaking, minus tax per go. And it's magnetically clipped into the kind of assembly, so it's easily removable. And you know what? I bought a new one, and it fixed all the problems.
I'm still surprised it died that quickly.
I am. I've got it here in my hands.
So keep an eye on that one.
Looking at it, I can't see anything majorly wrong with it. But my view was, okay, you're right, shouldn't die that quick. But also, for the sake of 8 quid, I've replaced it.
Yeah.
And it's working perfectly. And my kind of view is that with the Ender, that would have been a really complicated job.
Yes, it would have done.
A really complex issue. But this is just instantly replaced. And I'm kind of thinking that is the other parts of what makes this printer so good. We're not on any affiliation here with them at all. Other printers are available. But genuinely, if you are in the market for a 3D printer, the Bamboo Lab A1 Mini is probably one of the best entry-level printers there are out there. And that's just not my review, that's on other reviews as well. And I stress entry-level because it's a smaller hotbed. It can have additional bells and whistles, but for most printing requirements, and the fact that it does multicolor as well, it's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yep, very.
So anyway, that aside, I just wanted to touch on that because, one of those things that was really bugging me. And it's easily fixed. And now I'm back on printing. It's printing an Xbox.
I listened to your woes of 3D printing before. I was like, just sell it. It's not worth it.
No, I did. And it's gone. And this thing is, I'll tell you what, money well spent. I've printed more in the last, 2 months of having it than I did probably the last 2 years completely with the other printers. So, yeah, definitely. All right, then. So let's talk about the first story of the week then, which is SBF or Sam Bankman. Is it Fried?
Fried?
Yeah. Who, if you may recall, was the founder and CEO of the crypto exchange FTX, who now, according to the court, is the mastermind behind close to, well, how many billions? $10 billion, $8 billion, wasn't it? $8 billion theft
Yep.
from their customers, and the investors of FTX themselves lost 1.7 billion. And he's gone to prison for 25 years now. And they're following a judgment in a New York court as of last month.
Yeah, I mean, he got off lightly though. I mean, the maximum was 110, wasn't it? The maximum sentence he could have had was 110. So 25 was lenient, I want to say, but possibly not. And he's only going to a medium security prison. His family's going there due to his notoriety, his association with vast wealth, his autism, and social awkwardness. So I don't know if they meant the medium is meant to be more than what he should have got or less. I don't know. I mean, could you imagine him in a high security prison? Well, he'd be dead by the week out.
Yeah, and that, no, that's not a good thing, obviously. And I'm also laughing about the medical side. I was laughing more about his association to high wealth. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. No.
But you're right. There are probably a lot of people there who feel that they perhaps could extort him. And make a lot of money on the side. I feel for his parents because obviously a lot of their properties that they were living in were related to him, weren't they? His attorneys had asked for 6.5 years, didn't they? Because saying that his charitable works and commitment to others. I'm sorry,
I don't know. Yeah, his parents was a funny one though. They knew what he was doing, and all along, and even in the trial and stuff, some of the statements they said made it sound like that they were okay with this, and he had done nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's not a good place to be. And the fact his charitable works, like the U.S. attorneys, said that his charitable work was giving away other people's money.
I did like the judge. Lewis Kaplan was the judge in this.
Was, yeah.
So not only did he steal all the money, he also committed perjury during the trial, engaged in witness tampering before being taken into custody.
He did address the court, though, didn't he, after the sentencing, to say that he was sorry about what happened at every stage, and there are things I should have done, and things I shouldn't. Well, I can tell you, there are basically everything you shouldn't have done. And according to, I think it was CNN, he said he made a series of bad decisions. And but he claimed, and I quote, he built something beautiful at FTX, and he threw it all away, and he was down, and its downfall haunts him every day. Yes, I'm sure it will be for 25 years.
Exactly. But he has been ordered to forfeit $11 billion.
Where's he got $11 billion? Where is that $11 billion?
Probably down the back of his couch. But there's not going to be any restitution. No restitution was ordered due to the complexity of the case and number of victims. So if you're a victim, you're not getting any money back. Where this $11 billion forfeit is going, probably the US government, I imagine.
It is, but this isn't the end of the story, though, is it? Because if you recall, there is the spin-off from FTX, which was Alameda Research,
yes,
it? The kind of part of it, which was run by his then girlfriend, and there hasn't yet been anything yet on her trial, because
I've seen.
She turned. I don't know what's in the state witness. What do they call it? Where she in turn of, I guess, leniency, she has provided witness testimony. Before the cases, but she's due to be sentenced as well, isn't she? I can't think of any. Caroline, isn't it? I think Caroline.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
So we still don't know what's going to happen there. I wonder whether she'll get a lighter sentence given her, I guess, testimony or support. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll have to look out for that one, actually.
It's got to happen soon, though, surely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did think it. You think that he spun up FTX, then he had Alameda Research, and basically, what's it from borrow from Peter to pay Paul, as they say, isn't it? Basically writing himself IOUs whilst living. Where was it? Was it Caribbean? Was it Bahamas? I think he lived.
Bahamas, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. And as we said before, every time one of these crypto things comes up, it's the same story every single time. It's theft, pure and simple, isn't it?
Yeah. The only thing he's sorry for is getting caught.
Well, yeah, like everybody who gets caught.
Yeah.
And you could argue, this is white collar crime. Well, no, actually, this hurt lots of innocent people, didn't it?
It did.
This is had effect on people who have invested their hard-earned money into cryptocurrency. Yeah, and we could go on about the perils of cryptocurrency here, but it isn't. These things continue to go on, and Bitcoin just seems to go from strength to strength. I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's just
We should have got it a long time ago.
yeah.
Maybe we're millionaires by now.
Well, yeah. Did you see though? There was a court ruling the other week
No.
that said that Craig Wright is not
Satoshi.
So
Well, about time. The guy's an idiot.
there was a court case in the UK where basically he took a load of people to court, and he was basically it was a lawsuit against him versus 12 other people that has now been dropped, that's come off the back of another court case where basically the High Court judge, Judge Meller, has declared that Wright was not Satoshi Nakamoto and did not write the Bitcoin white paper. And he's quoted as saying, "I will make certain declarations which I am satisfied are useful and necessary to do justice between parties. First, that Dr. Wright is not the author of the Bitcoin white paper. And second, Dr. Wright is not the person who adopted or operated under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto in the period of 08 to 011. And thirdly, Dr. Wright is not the person who created the Bitcoin system. And fourth, he's not the author of the initial version." So that was then followed by a court order to freeze $7 million of his assets to cover the legal fees of the crypto open patent license protected.
Has he got $7 million?
No idea. But I am glad, because it's about time that guy shut up. And I can say that now because it's been a court of law. I don't know where he got off saying that he was, Nakamoto, because there's clearly far more to that story. And I don't mean Craig Wright, but I mean the whole pseudonym. And I come to wonder whether it's not a real person.
I did see something to it on the other day. That basically said it was probably done by AI, so that NVIDIA and AMD would invest in better GPUs so it could get more powerful.
Funny enough, I did see another tongue-in-cheek thing again on Twitter, I think, or X, whatever we're calling it again. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek / serious paper that was arguing that maybe actually it was the NSA.
Quite possibly.
But you kind of go down all rabbit holes of that. But look,
conspiracy theorists, yeah.
It's not him ultimately.
God, it was never him.
It was never him. But because of people like him, the crypto thing continues to roll on, and we end up with situations like SBF, and now he spends 25 years playing golf in a minimum security joint somewhere nice, I'm sure. But he's still in prison. He's still lost his liberty, and unfortunately, innocent people have lost their money. So nobody's really won, have they? Ultimately,
no.
Well, talking of AI, then our next story is regarding Microsoft and Inflection AI, which was a company that I hadn't heard of until you popped this story up in the show notes to have talk about this week. So kind of give us a background here, because
so obviously Microsoft have their close relationship with OpenAI, don't they? Which has been frowned upon by the EU. So Microsoft have tried to be a bit sneaky here, and rather than buying Inflection AI, which would obviously immediately trigger an EU investigation, they've instead paid $650 million to acquire most of Inflection's team and the rights to use the AI model, but they have not bought the company. They've just bought everything in it.
That's a very peculiar situation.
Yeah, and obviously this hasn't gone unnoticed by the EU's antitrust chief. Is it Marguerite Vestager?
That's the guy.
Yeah, they've said, look, we might look into it, but we have no decisions, neither to do something or not to do something. We have registered that this is happening, and also registered that it's happening in a way so that it escapes our scrutiny from our usual boxes. So they've noticed that obviously Microsoft's gone around the back door here. Microsoft have refused to comment on the matter.
No? You do shock me.
Yes. So, yeah, it is kind of sneaky there. We'll see where this goes.
Well, it is, but this isn't the other recent investment they've made, isn't it? Another AI company, because the EU are probing a 50 million euro investment in another AI startup called Mistral, which is a French one. And this apparently came about not long after they released their latest model, which competes with OpenAI and
Right.
ChatGPT.
It's all hotting up in the AI industry.
Well, it does seem, doesn't it, at the moment that, and I think we kind of talked about this before, that at the moment the AI is the realm of the big tech companies.
Yeah.
In a sense, is the deeper your pockets, the more you can do here, isn't it? Realistically, and we've seen that across all three of the big players, and I mean Microsoft, Google, AWS.
Yeah.
All of them have got significant investments in the, I don't want to say household name AI because that's not fair to most people, but let's call it the well-known industry players. And we know that Amazon is pretty much the powerhouse behind Anthropic, which is the Claude models, which I quite like. I really like Claude, by the way. I think Claude does a much better job of writing naturally or helping to provide more natural language output.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I've been using it to help me understand complex research articles. And I find it does a much better job of giving me I want to say human readable summary, if that makes sense. Whereas ChatGPT tends to be very right to the point. Dun, dun, dun. It's kind of very bullet pointed.
Gotcha.
Very,
but I suppose different tools for different jobs there. Sometimes you want a direct bullet point summarization, don't you?
It is, and then you've got Google, of course, with Gemini, which is their own book, but they're still investing in other areas. And Gemini, I'd be honest with you, Gemini is not floating my boat whatsoever. It is not doing it. But if you look at Microsoft are bumping all this investment into these AIs. They have got their huge investment with OpenAI, where a bit like Inflection, they didn't buy the company, but they might as well have done, didn't they? Really, to get it. And we know that's definitely been investigated by the EU. But Copilot's now out in GA, isn't it? So you can now use Microsoft Copilot, which, come on, let's be honest, that is ChatGPT under the covers.
Of course it is.
And that's now generally available on, for Microsoft 365, and also the security Copilot's out now as well, isn't it? So they need to make some money on it. Because
although I think I sent you the Twitter thread, didn't I, about the security AI? It's questionable at the moment.
Yes.
The guy spent a lot of money and it helped him with nothing.
The problem is this is going to happen, I think, a lot as these models mature. That will change. But I think at the moment, the Copilot thing, I'm hearing different things. I won't name names, but I spoke to somebody I know who works at Microsoft in modern work, and they were evangelizing heavily on Copilot itself. So the one that goes with, Office and other things, how great it was and how really cool. And you know what? Yeah, it is, but I'll give you a good example. So I did a talk with a load of kids last night. And when I say kids, I mean sort of teenagers. We talk about cybersecurity, but of course we got to the subject of AI. And I tried to kind of ask them, who's heard of AI, kind of different things. And I got to who's heard of ChatGPT or something. Some of them hadn't. Some of them kind of had seen things. And, we talked of kind of what they thought AI was. Some of them kind of mentioned shoes should not be named or Amazon's talking, bots.
Yep.
But then we're kind of like, well, what do you do with it? And, that's a really good question, isn't it? And we could go down all these kind of great stuff that you do. But most people generally at the moment come up with the standard stuff. Oh, I'd get it to do my job for me. But what do you mean? Well, I'd get it to write my work. I'd get it to, and that's not really what we're doing here, is it, with AI? The AI models that we need are the ones that can create new medicines, can analyze new capabilities in communication networks, can help us to build new engineering models based on evidence that they get. And it's all about the data that underlying everything. Like you just have a security one, it's the data you put in. So trash in, trash out. They say you give it the good data, you train them well, they're going to do amazing things. And that isn't just writing Word documents or scribbling an email out, is it? Those kind of stuff. But it is beyond that. But I don't think we've plateaued. I just think people are settling into a rut with what is AI in inverted commas, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with that. And I struggle with day-to-day one. I sit there and think, right, what would I actually use it for, right? I get it to write a document or an email, but by the time I've perfected the prompt, I could have just written it myself.
And that is it, isn't it?
So I keep looking at I should use AI in my day to job more and more, but I just can't think of a use case for it at the moment where I couldn't do it quicker and better myself. And maybe it's just because of the role we're in.
Yeah, perhaps.
Where we're more of a niche, specific kind of industry. Maybe if I was a secretary or an admin person, something like that, and I'd get more benefit out of it. But yeah, currently I can't seem to find a use for it in my day to day.
So I'll give you an example I used today. So you and I both use Grammarly. Again, no affiliation.
Yep.
Service. And Grammarly has got that AI capability now, isn't it? Where
I've still never used it in that.
So I've used it a few times, by the way, to help me shorten essays. So I'm doing, as you know, I'm doing a postgraduate study at the moment.
Yes.
And I was writing an essay, and I realized there was a few of a word count over. So I was like, how am I going to change? It's really difficult to take words out. I know that sounds, like really. So I dumped it back into Grammarly after I'd written it, and I selected a couple of paragraphs, and I went to the AI and I said shorten, and it gave me a couple of versions of it, had rewritten it. Now, don't get me wrong, I still made some changes, but that was really helpful.
Okay.
And sometimes the AI get in there and it says change the tone of it, and it can rewrite it in a different tone. That's quite helpful. And I did that today. To write an email for somebody who's a leader in our particular business. I wanted to be more assertive in a polite way, so I was like, so I again used the Grammarly AI function I wrote it, the email that I wanted, and then I asked it to change the tone of it. Okay. And you know what? Yeah, it actually works. So we'll find out if I get the answer I want later on. But that's another story. There's that kind of stuff's right. But you're right. I think your point is exactly the same. Crafting prompts is a skill now. It really is a skill. And on a really bad example, I was playing with DALL-E, so the image creation software is part of OpenAI and ChatGPT, and I asked it to create an image of a space shuttle of Columbia landing at KSC, Kennedy Space Center, after a successful mission. Great. So I added what I wrote. And it did it. And I said photorealistic, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, put a brilliant picture. Glaringly obvious problem. It showed the shuttle landing with the booster still attached and coming in vertically on the runway. Okay, all right, fair play. So I basically rewrote the prompt and said this, and ChatGPT came back and went, "Yeah, you're correct. The shuttle does land like a glider. Blah 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 blah. Thank you very much for pointing this out." And rewrote, and it then put it in. It took out the boosters and had the thing coming in. But it created weird buildings in the background that I didn't, because it was trying to generate blocks. And it also kind of, and you're right. And after about an hour of rewriting prompts, I realized myself, what am I doing?
I'm wasting my evening here.
I could just go and Google a picture of this probably, but it was the fact that I wanted to try. But, to your point, crafting succinct and detailed prompts that ticks all of the information is an absolute skill in itself. And so much so, you can now find AI startups. Oh, my 3D printer just completed its print. You can now find AI startups that you put in what you want, and the AI writes you the prompt.
Yeah. It's just,
Isn't that kind of full circle? Right? There's a name for that, isn't there? I can't think what it is, but you know what I mean? But yeah, so absolutely, this is where we're going, and an AI is coming that we talk about, but this inflection one again is an interesting one, and I kind of come back to close that out. So it turns out that one of the things they released again was another what they call an AI chatbot called Pi for personal intelligence,
right?
Which apparently is designed to act as an artificial intelligence and personal assistant. So I wonder whether that's going to be something that they'll want to factor into how Copilot responds to users.
Maybe.
Possibly. Talking which, and I know we're not going to cover it this week, but of course the Humane AI Pin, which is the hardware AI assistant.
Yes, we need to add that in.
We need to talk about that next week. But let's just say that it's probably not the product reviews that they wanted on releasing a product where you have a AI/personal assistant, is it?
Yeah.
Let's just say we'll talk about more next week, but let's put it this way: this is probably not the way to do it. And I'm still in two minds whether or not the reviews are justified. But generally speaking, the industry has reacted negatively to this kind of Star Trek style communicator pin, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I'm still interested to see the reviews of the Rabbit R1 when they come out. See if that's any better way of doing it, because that has a screen built in.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see. But again, that's something we're going to cover next week, not for this week. But again, it just was a related topic on AI.
Yeah.
So let's talk about D-Link then, because I forgot they existed as a company.
Didn't I ship you down a D-Link switch? Is that still in operation in your?
It is. I'm just using it as a dumb gig switch. Just to basically route some of the connections.
Well, as well as switches, D-Link also make NAS drives, although maybe they shouldn't. But anyway, D-Link has been issuing a rip and replace order for owners of several of its older NAS drives, which are now end of service ones. Just because two critical vulnerabilities have been released. One is a hard-coded credentials with CVSS score 9.8, and the other was a command injection bug with a CVS of 7.3. Now, that's not those are bad things. But this affects over 92,000 NAS devices which are exposed on the internet. Primarily located in the UK, Thailand, Italy, and Germany, apparently. And D-Link have stated they will not release any firmware updates to patch these vulnerabilities, as the devices are no longer supported. So I get their end of life. But you hard-coded admin credentials into the firmware. I think D-Link should fix this.
Yep, but that's that.
But they've said no, sorry. So basically, at this point, one, you need to remove these devices from the internet. Stop exposing it. Two, buy another NAS device that isn't D-Link.
I mean, that's great business, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, our products were okay once, but really now they're not. Get rid of it.
Yeah, well, they obviously they didn't recommend that. That's my recommendation. Don't buy D-Link NAS. They don't know what they're doing.
No, and again, this hard-coded credential is something we saw.
That's unacceptable. A hard-coded credential.
It is that, and it's almost on par with the classic default admin code, hardware coding that we saw for many, many years on network equipment that was on a sticker underneath it, wasn't it?
But at least you can change that. You can't change the hard-code credential.
Yeah, true. But like with those, the amount of people that have exposed stuff to the internet and haven't changed the default password. I won't mention the search engine that you can use to do that, but of course it's freely available on the web. You can go there, you can search for cameras and stuff, and it will log you in quite happily. And again, none of that is doing anything sophisticated.
It's hacking that you put it on the internet, and I use the default username and password, and there you go, I'm in. It's not sophisticated. I beg the question, it's even hacking, but yeah.
So D-Link then. So the message from you then is basically don't buy D-Link. Who would you like us to buy? Maybe we can get an affiliation for them as well.
Make some money out of this one. Yeah, I don't know. I would say someone takes security seriously, but they all apparently do.
It's been a good week, so I
don't know. That. I think the big one is don't expose your NAS to the internet.
Well, or if you do, put a reverse proxy / security system in the way of it if you really must do,
I mean, your best bet is use something like Tailscale or a VPN, WireGuard, OpenVPN, something that doesn't expose your entire network to the internet. And
as you say, use complex security, use multi-factor authentication, all of the above if necessary. So definitely the way to do it. Okay then. So moving from one crazy idea to another, Elon Musk has once again brought up the idea of getting people to pay to post on X / Twitter, hasn't he?
God, yeah. We spoke, what was it, last year about something before Christmas. He was trialling it, and I can't remember where he was trialling it. But,
wasn't it down in Australia, New Zealand way, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it was. But now he's tweeted just recently, or X'd, or whatever we're calling it. He's put a message out saying he's basically going to be rolling out everywhere, isn't he? Yeah. So you're basically now going to have to pay a fee to post on Twitter. And his reasoning behind this is a way to curb bot activity on the platform. Musk claims that it's the only way to effectively address the relentless onslaught of bots on the platform, as current AI can easily bypass the "Are you a bot?" checks.
If it's going to be minimal, surely that's an acceptable. They'll find a way to do this and quite happily have an acceptable outlay on that, given the amount of money that they're making.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't pay, you're going to get a read-only account, which is fine by me. I don't post anyway. Yeah. So whatever. He's not getting my money. He never would. But if you want to post, you're going to need to pay up, really. I think last year's trial was $1 per year.
Yeah, that sounds
but
about right. I recall. Yeah.
I imagine that's probably going to go up because $1 a year doesn't sound like a lot of money to stop a bot.
Not really, is it? I mean, that's
Because the people running the bots just pay the pound and then it hasn't got rid of the bot problem.
No,
But it has made him more money.
Look, I really, and I can't bring myself to come off it. I really like X because I like the engagement with some really good, security researchers, military kind of historian stuff, other kind of really useful information that people post. Really, But what I don't like is that you see a post now by a reputable poster.
Yeah.
You click on that, and then all of the replies are OnlyFans accounts.
Or they're adverts. It's
They're
advert
bots.
every other two real posts, which is obviously him doing that. So
it's like you say, it's a bot of an OnlyFan or whatever style account, which is trying to promote, some seedy activity or whatever. And it's just so, I can't say the word, frustrating. And I'm fed up a bit. I'm an adult. I don't, it's fine. I'm not offended by it. That's not my point. It's just, I just don't need that in my feed.
I know, but this is a problem that he's made.
Of course it is.
Twitter's always had a bot problem, but not to this extent. I mean, he's made it 10 times worse by getting rid of most of the company, the people who are actually tasked with finding and stopping the bots.
Do you know what? There have been several accounts though that he's let back on, and there have been also several times I actually reported a couple of accounts recently.
Yeah,
and I don't know why I bothered because they clearly had breached the terms and conditions there. And I thought, maybe I'll flag this because this isn't right. You know what? Every time I come back, nobody's breached anything.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's breached it. No, this didn't breach terms. What? Are you sure about that? You absolutely sure? No, reality is this has been answered by a bot because there's nobody there to actually drive this remediation. Yeah. So nothing's getting done.
So basically, he's getting the all the Twitter users to pay for his mistakes again.
Yeah, exactly. The demise of Twitter has not happened much to the surprise of most people, but it has become a seething pit of absolute awfulness, isn't it?
It has, yeah. And if it was somewhere else I could go, I would.
Yeah, Blue Sky doesn't seem to do that. Mastodon really isn't really there. I don't think either. That's kind of people have kind of come away from that, haven't they? Yeah. Apart from a sort of hardcore amount of people. And I've noticed a lot of people who said they were leaving Twitter and have returned.
Yeah, it's a crying shame, really.
It is. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. Let's move over a second. So then, let's pop over to Google then. And a bit of a reorg has happened, hasn't it, across several divisions there, which, I can't say I saw coming, but kind of makes sense. Do you?
Yeah, so they're apparently merging their Android, their Chrome, and the hardware divisions to a new platform and devices division. The goal being to, their words, turbocharge the Android and Chrome ecosystem and deliver higher quality products and experiences. Yeah, so it seems to be tied to Google's focus on AI, isn't it? So the new division are taking on part of Google's research team, specifically the computational photography group, which makes sense. That kind of aligns with a lot of the camera software stuff they do, doesn't it?
Yeah, and kind of if you look at it, Android and Chrome are very much similar platforms, aren't they? Underneath, they've got a lot of shared resources. They've got a lot of information, underlying technologies that they use, and you can kind of see actually bringing those together makes a lot of sense. And I guess probably when you talk about hardware, they're probably not a bad idea because if you think of it like a bit like Apple, where they've got the Pixel devices and the Chromebooks, and probably getting everybody on the same page under the same leadership would be a good idea to help develop and improve the capabilities and feature sets that are there. But it's not a bad thing. I guess it's surprised it hasn't happened sooner, really.
Yeah, well, talking about leadership, obviously there's a new leader now. So this new platforms and devices division is going to be led by the previous Google hardware SVP, Rick Osterlock. So the old guy, Hiroshi Lockheimer, is now going to be moving on to new projects at Google.
Ah, wow. I wonder what he's off to do then.
Don't know. It sounded cryptic.
It does. And another thing around this is and kind of say to us, is this is all led by Sundar Pichai, isn't it? He's really kind of shaped Google now along the AI path. And as we talked about earlier in the show, all of this is aligned to an AI roadmap. Doing that, and we've talked about it before with the Pixels, and the AI capabilities in those, and we'll probably see some of that coming from Apple later this year at WWDC, which I can't believe is only just less than 2 months away now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not long now.
Which will be really interesting to understand how they're going to bring AI to the iPhone and other platforms. So Google are doing what I think everybody else is. They are pushing the business to align to that roadmap, and the hardware. Well, I guess what Pixels and what's the tablet? Well, I can't think what it's called, wasn't it?
Isn't it Pixel as well, isn't it?
I think it was now. Yeah. No, you said that.
It's all Pixels.
It's all Pixels. Pixels all around. It's very pixel. Oh, that's a bad joke. Very pixelated.
Stop.
Yeah, stop now. Because there was a point actually on this to talk about the hardware piece though, which I kind of saw in the article from Ars Technica around it, which it's mentioned about that when Google initially brought out the Pixel phones, which weren't called Pixel, they were Nexus phones, if you recall, weren't they?
Made by HTC.
They separated them out, didn't they? Because they didn't want their partner manufacturers to feel that the Google team or the Android team favoritized the Nexus /Pixel team, did they?
No, exactly.
But that's kind of moved off now, and I think we're in a world now where actually, despite the vanilla Pixel experience or Android Pixel experience, Samsung, Xiaomi, whoever they are, everybody's doing their own thing now, aren't they? Really, and Samsung have taken such a lead in the market that I don't think they're worried about Google's latest Pixel device, really, are they?
No, not at all.
No. So I'm sure there'll be more announcements on this, but the platforms and devices, welcome to the world. Talking of that though, didn't Microsoft have a similar division, or have they broken that up now? Because that was under
the Surface division, didn't they?
Yeah, but wasn't Windows brought into all that under Panos Panay, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, I think that might have changed things. He's not there anymore.
He's not there anymore because I think it all changed after it. But yeah, they did something similar.
They did.
But then again, this is Google, so next week they probably will have killed the products, laid off.
They'll have killed Android by next week.
Yeah, so I don't know what we're worried about. So that probably is a good place for us to. Yes, spin up the TechRat rumor mill. And there's only one rumor this week, but it's an interesting one regarding what has happened to the engineering team that were working on the Vision Pro. So Vision Pro has been out, what now, 2 months?
2 months, yeah.
Ticking over. There was apparently a lot of returns, so I've heard on various...
I've heard of an awful lot, yep.
But look, it's a Gen 1 product. It wasn't mainstream. I haven't heard anything super negative about it.
No. A lot of the feedback was it's a great product, but people couldn't justify $3,500 for something they weren't using every day.
No.
There was no killer app kind of thing for it that made people want to use it every day in out. And really at $3,500, most people want to be using it for work as well, don't they? And it just wasn't that use case yet.
Yeah. So there is then a rumor now out, isn't there, from 95Mac that has stated or claimed, I should start, that the engineers on the Vision Pro team have been moved to the folding iPhone project, which is now also delayed for another couple of years, 3 years, 2 to 3 years.
It's more of a folding device project, isn't it? Because
yes.
Unsure if it's going to be an iPhone or iPad device at this moment. Yeah, we've talked about this one before. I'm still very interested in one. I remember you being not so interested in a folding device. No.
Well, not until the technology or the hardware has caught up to the point of the.
But that's what Apple will do.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
It needs to be an absolutely seamless transition.
Yeah.
No loss of quality, and that's for me. I don't really think, despite how good the screens are, we are there yet. But anyway, look, I'll hold back for a second because I've jumped the gun. Sorry.
That's all right. No, I'm still up for that. I mean, if I could get an iPhone-like experience that unfolded into an iPad mini-sized screen, I think I'm all up for that. But then I don't use my iPad very much. I'm usually a phone, or if I want something larger, I'll go and grab the laptop. I don't really use my iPad that much. So maybe I'd use this device more with I get a slightly larger screen to do the task without having to get the laptop out.
Yeah. So 2 things here. One, I don't see this as I want to clarify, but I don't see this as a negative point that the Vision Pro team have moved off, because as we talked about in the kind of the prep for the show, what I think has happened here is more likely that the initial developer team have moved off to a new project, because the Vision Pro is designed, it's done, it's shipped.
Yeah, the hardware development team, they've done their job now.
Yeah, so the team that now looks after Vision Pro is a team that's going to help shape it, provide iterations, and grow it,
Yep.
But those kind of, I guess, specialist designers, specialist engineers are now moving on to this new project, which is the folding device. So I wanted to kind of talk, because I didn't want anybody to think that we were kind of saying, oh, the Vision Pro is dead. Not at all.
No.
Not at all. But I think Apple here are super cautious, given obviously that there are only two. Well, I say two. There are 3 mainstream kind of devices out there, aren't there? Samsung have got one. I think, was it Xiaomi or Huawei have got one as well?
Yeah.
And Microsoft have done theirs as well. But Apple obviously are never going to drop a folding iOS iPad device unless, to your point, they make it as good as they can get it. The hardware is excellent. So I think this is definitely something coming out. My worry is that, what is it? Is it an iPhone? Or is it an iPad? Because we've got iPad OS, we have iOS. Does it use both? Does it take all the? Do you get all of the iPad features like Stage Manager when it flips open? These are, I know these kind of like just random questions, but it's like, what is it? But to your other point around not using your iPad, I get you. So yeah, I've got an 11-inch iPad Pro. It's the M1 powered one. It's a super device. It's awesome. I need to use it more when I go to the office, because the way we have our hot desking, we can plug in USB-C and it works really well. I should do that more. It would probably save my back. But the experience isn't quite that.
It's still too limiting.
It's despite the changes, the way apps run, still have issues with full. It's good, but it's not there, as you say, isn't it? So,
but then I kind of still feel that it's limited on purpose by Apple.
Yes, because you don't want to cannibalize the Mac OS / Mac sales. No,
but really, the top of the range iPad Pros are more expensive than the Mac ones. So what are they cannibalizing exactly?
Well,
if I could only buy one, would you not rather me buy the more expensive iPad Pro than the cheaper Mac?
Well, this is.
But then I suppose maybe Apple counter people to buying both now.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. They don't want to cannibalize it, but you're right. Those iPads are as powerful in theory, aren't they?
Yeah.
As the entry-level devices.
Yes. And they're more expensive than the entry-level devices. So if Apple are going to make a sale, they want someone to buy the more expensive iPad.
Yeah.
But then, so quite a lot of people buy both. I know you've got a Mac, you've got an iPhone, you've got an iPad. I don't have a Mac. I'm a Windows man, but I have an iPad and an iPhone. But I really don't use my iPad that much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely in the ecosystem. I use Mac Mini, I use my MacBook, as you know, as you say, iPad. And the problem is, I'm not using the iPad enough.
That's why I haven't upgraded. I'm still running the old one, aren't I? I'm the 2017 iPad Pro.
I even if they brought an OLED one out tomorrow, I couldn't justify it. The M1 powered 11-inch one that's just sat on my other desk at the minute charging up is more than powerful for what I need. In fact, it's probably more than powerful enough and more than capable enough for most people's needs, to be fair. I mean, given the computing power in it, there isn't a tablet that comes close. And I'm not talking about Surface devices with Intel chips. I'm talking about like Android tablets. And equivalent. There's nothing comes close. Nothing has the power that these things do. And they're wasted. To your point, it is hobbled. That thing is clearly held back because it could do far more. It could run that hardware could easily run Mac OS.
Oh god, you could have, when you attach to an external monitor or when you attach it to a keyboard, have it switch to a Mac OS interface, like Windows used to do. You'd have, when it was a tablet, you'd have the big chunky touch friendly one. When you plugged it in, you got the normal Windows experience. Okay, it wasn't polished, it's not Apple polished, but Apple could do it.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And at that point, I'd probably consider buying a new iPad.
I would love that. In fact, I'd use it far more often. I would take it to the office every day because I could use everything I needed to do.
Yeah.
So I think there's you're right. To be fair to you, I think there is scope here for this device, but I think Apple need to bring it to market and really think about the use cases on it and the user experience. And my feeling is they won't. It'll probably be released as a folding iPhone with a larger screen.
I imagine at that point they'd probably get rid of the iPad Mini,
which I'm surprised still exists, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think they might kill that one off and bring out an iPhone that basically turns into an iPad Mini.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. So the folding iOS/iPad device delayed until 2027, but no shocker there. And we'll see what comes next.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good place for us to wrap up then for our first show back after our little mid-year break. We'll be back next week for episode 165 for all the latest tech news, including that, review of the Humane AI pin. When I say review, I mean obviously from a distance because we haven't got one. And no, you can't buy them in the UK either. But of course, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. So please tell your friends if they're not listening to us. Wherever you get podcasts from, we're on all of the mainstream podcast repositories. Is that the right word? God knows. And of course, you can find all of our show notes at techrant.online, where we have all of the information we've talked about today and links to all of the other shows that we've talked about and all the other great stuff as well. So please do share, tell your friends, and listen. Give us a review, give us a comment. It really helps the show grow. Well, with that then, I've been Jay.
And I've been Carl. Have a good evening all.
Catch you next time.